So I thought I'd make a video about, I needed to kind of vent a little bit. It's a little just disturbing, because now when I sort of think about it, I was watching my dead sister, body completely limp. I didn't even know she was my sister. I was disturbed at the time whenever I was looking out that window. And I know, you can say, I could say anything I want. You don't really have to believe me, but this is what I have to say about this. This limp body of a dead little girl that looks like she was on the verge of dying, or just completely dead limped. And for a moment I was going to run outside, and I was going to see if Ivan was okay, or I was going to see, just to look to see, hey, are you okay? Or just to check, just to say, is he okay with the situation? But his eyes kind of looked red a little bit. And this is one of the times, because she was almost very, very limp. And I want to say it was for only 2 days. It wasn't no more than 3 days. Could have just been 1 day. But I remember the time that I saw some tears in his eyes was when her body was completely limp. It was just like lifeless. And it was down to the very last moments of whatever effort that little girl could have pushed out to try to stand up, and couldn't anymore. And to think that I was watching this, she was completely this little kid was just limp dead. And he was carrying her, and it was more, I don't know if I had seen this happen, and then he worked farther, and then I waited for him to return, because I stayed by the window. I was like, all right, he should probably be walking by the window right now, to look to see what was, to take a look. And I'm not sure, sometimes you can see what was inside the house, sometimes you couldn't, because you couldn't look to see what was in the house, because we had a curtain at the time. We had some blinds sometimes. But I know sometimes you could tell if we were in the house or not, or couldn't tell. But most of the time I think you kind of could. I could tell you best. I know Mickey sometimes could and couldn't, because I've been standing by the window and he looked to see if somebody was at the house or not. He may see some moving at the window. Only when there was moving you could see something. But I thought it was worth me talking about, because I just, even though it was, Ivan's sister that lived there and all, that's my biological sister. Her body's completely limp dead, and I'm watching her limp dead. And all I could think about is Sarah Cooper, and all I could think about is Kenneth and Ken Cooper, and how they rescued her, and how they did all this other shit. They're doing this to their mommy. They did this to your mom, and they did this to me, and they did this in hate. And the President Barack Obama was literally maliciously attacking me for it. It's very difficult to understand how, when somebody's dead little girl finally gets a credit, it goes to Barack Obama and George Bush, to how they want to divide it, because he has the people dividing it. You get a piece of leg here, you get the brains, you get the heart, you get a thigh, and it just like hyenas, just ripping the shit out of it, ripping it apart. And but I just can't believe that. I remember that was the last time that I saw her walk. That was the last time I saw her walk. Because I knew The fact is like when I'd see her throw up when she was walking, it wasn't a buildup of a throw up. The throw ups were very sudden. They're very quick, and they weren't like ways that there weren't throw ups in ways that you know how like you start dry heaving and build up. No, this vomit when she was walking, like it just seems like it was just very quickly regurgitated. Like the fluid could have gone into her lungs, and then maybe this is how maybe she could have died or suffocated because she had so much fluid in the lungs that she couldn't breathe. I don't know what the cause of death is. I don't, not looking into that, but I just know that when I watched her throw up, it was very sudden. It wasn't like a build-up. It wasn't like a burp. It wasn't like some commotions. It was just like the body was so lifeless. But I can't believe that. It's hard. It's hard for me. I can't believe that I'm watching my own dead limp sister, and how Kenneth is just ripping the shit out of. And it's for President Barack Obama for the niggas, saying we get down like that for Lynette and Kenneth and Madison, and that's just what we do for hip hop. I got so many friends and so many enemies around me that I'm not talking about because I'm just scared. And I have to wait for the output of what y'all are giving out because I'm not talking. I don't want to say anything because there's other people that I'm talking to that I know that are extremely lethal and don't give a rat's ass really much about my life. But I can't say anything because you're sending so many people to attack me and so many of the details, and you have me in a prison camp, not them. I had seen her urinating as she was walking months and probably a year prior to that, urinating because I'd see the piss or the footprints of when she was walking. And, I never saw Ivan, I don't think, wear shoes whenever he walked her. I think most of the time he didn't wear shoes, which is, he got comfortable and he would just go out and do his normal walk. And he never really did it most of the time with his shoes. He was young, but, to me, I think to myself, it's just like, I was watching her body come in limp dead. My own sister. I didn't even know. For President Barack Obama, because he charged at me, once at a grocery store, and he rolled up behind me, and he was like snatching a bunch of shit. And then it was the other time at Albertsons, and then there was, and this is what he's doing. It's so crazy when you talk to a real life Nazi, real life Nazi German that has the mentality of that. Because you realize how worthless your life is to these types of people. His throat medication. So it's the immune system and throat coat. It's supposed to help your throat. I have real bad throat. I don't know if it's my lungs or my throat or somewhere in between there, but it's been messed up ever since I was poisoned. I was poisoned many years ago. And one of the reasons because Diana poisoned me because Frankie got raped. She threw some poison in there. I got all fucked up. My throat got all fucked up. But anyway, I'm in shock. I'm not in shock, but the fact is that I'm looking at my own biological sister and brother, my own biological sister, same mother and same father. And if it happened to be a different man, then it still doesn't change the circumstances. But I think it does add a little bit of extra whenever you have the same biological father and mother. And that's my sister that is linked dead in front of me. And then you know what? I want to say this, Julian, Frankie didn't see that. I know Frankie didn't. He could have, I'm sure he did see her throw up and piss, but the day that she was completely limp dead, and he was, I'm telling you, he was entirely like this. This is what it looked like. When he was picking her up, her body literally looked like this. And he was, if I zip this up, and I show you what this looked like. And I watched my dead sister in the last moments of life. Her head was hanging, and he was literally putting his hands, like to pick up her, Ivan was, to pick up her chest, and he was doing this, like, and her arms were completely just dangling. And, I mean, just like, and, I mean, I didn't see, like, any movement. Her body, her head was down. He was literally putting his hands, like, underneath her arms, something like this, and just trying to brace her chest to try to pick her up. And he was just like, and he was picking up her limp body, and it was completely limp. And at first I remember glancing, and I was thinking, I was like, shit, I think we have an emergency situation. I remember thinking, it's like, oh, I think we have an emergency. Oh no. I remember thinking, like, oh no, like, is she? And I'm thinking that's not my sister when I'm looking at it. I'm just like, that's another kid. That's Ivan's sister. That's another human being. You know, it's like, there's not in any moment that I'm ever thinking, oh, that's my sister. There's nothing of that at all. And yeah, she was completely limp dead. You know, I'm sure she had some sort of life because the ambulance didn't get called that night. Didn't get called that day that I could, unless I just didn't see it. You know, who knows that maybe I went back into the house and then fell asleep, or went to Frankie's room, watched TV, and then the ambulance showed up and I just didn't see them. You'd have to ask Ivan, but I know that it was at least another probably month or a couple months, in my estimation, that from that day that I remember seeing, I saw her in a wheelchair, and I had seen she was making some sort of kind of movement, but it was very minimal at that time, even less. And then I had seen her a couple of times being wheeled on the wheelchair. And when she was being placed in the wheelchair, I remember seeing the pee bag, which she didn't have before. And she was being wheeled out the side of the house to go to the short bus. And when I saw, she was not moving. She was like on a wheelchair, I mean, just limp. And, I mean, she wasn't moving. She looked like at all. And, maybe some kind of movement, or I thought maybe she was just kind of having a nap and they were just taking her to school, or, for some activities. I don't know what the activities they have on a short bus, taken to a medical center. It wasn't a medical visit, but I don't know if they stopped by something that to get some exercise and then go to school or whatever it is, but I'm sure it's all in the same sanctuary that they have them. But, I thought it was important for me to talk about because, I watched my own sister, my own flesh and blood sister, just limp dead. not even moving. Like, and I couldn't tell you if it was the same day that I saw him cry. It wasn't a awful cry or any sounds. It was just water coming, and his eyes were red, and it was just kind of like a silent, deep cry, and it was just water, and his eyes were red. Like, I can't do anything. I'm doing what I can, and there's nothing that I can do. And I remember him looking forward, like gazing over the mountain of all the rich white people, where all the rich white people live, the nice houses. Like, he was looking over there, like gazing over there. Not that he was, but he was gazing his eyes, kind of like, that's God, And, I'm not trying to, like I said, it's a very disturbing situation for myself, because and they shot me here on my kneecap to keep me down because Barack Obama for the niggas. I know George Bush for white. Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper for Kenneth and Matt. I know that story. Like I said, it was so many years ago, and there's so many other kids that died, so many other kids that get sick. This is all about Keynote. This is all about 50 Cent. This is all about how the niggas get down with 50 and, bring it together, with the whites. And because very little Mexican has any dominance and crushing power to put the pain and suffering on them. It's just not going to happen. It's never going to. And it sucks. I didn't want it to be that way because, I believed in justice, but it's not going to happen. It's too late. Not only watching this little girl, obviously the sickness it's brought, but I watched her own dead body. I mean, she wasn't moving. She was completely just like. And he was like, holy smokes! He was just sort of like then he was like dragging her, sort of her feet, not violently, but like, come on, like, oh, come on, And he was like, oh no, she's not moving this time. So I thought I'd talk about that. She looked very much like. Yeah, like kind of like that cross right there. Just the beating of life that given you. And I got to do this for President Barack Obama because he's a winner and he knows what's best for Kenneth and Madison. For the gays. Transgender daughter. And then transgender it. But I don't know really what to think and say. I didn't look out. I was about to go outside. I remember to see if, like, are you okay? Like, you need me to call 911? You need to call the cops or something? Like, because I immediately thought this is like an emergency situation. Oh shit! It's like, oh no. I remember thinking like, oh shit! I think this is like an real life emergency situation. Like, this person has health. I don't know what's wrong. And I just kind of stood there and didn't freeze in hesitation because I was looking to see. He's like, come on, you're going to make some movement. And he seemed to be in control of the situation and acknowledging, and he knew the girl better than I do. I talked about that years before. I'd say like 2 years before I seen her limp dead. I had walked outside when I saw that Ida's mother hitting the little girl, and my mom wasn't home or was paying attention. Julian wasn't. I don't think Julian saw her that day. I'm almost positive Julian. He didn't see her limp dead that day. I think it was just me. I was by myself in the living room, just standing there, looking out the window, and and I know Frankie did because he was always in his room. he'd seen that she had kind of used the restroom a couple times and couldn't help it, and Julian, saw that she was. I don't think Julian did. I'm almost positive he could have, but I was there. I remember the day that I saw her looking out the window. I'm almost positive I was by myself. Like Julian was like either on the floor. I don't think I said something I could have. I said, "Hey, Julian! Oh shit, Julian! Look, I think Ivan's sister. She's not moving." I didn't tell him that. I didn't say that. I don't think he did. If he did, he wouldn't. He may not even remember, but he could have. I don't think he did because I remember I was the only one focusing out the window. I was the only one that was like, when I was looking. Julian wasn't next to me because if I would have said something, he would have stood by the window and like, oh shit, what's going on? He would have done, and there wasn't anyone next to me. But the only time I went outside is I acknowledged because he was hitting her. The transgender, Barack Obama's, transgender spirit daughter was inside, Ivan's sister, mother, and then it was hitting my sister, and I had to put a stop to it, presidential style. Anyway, I walked outside one day and I, to acknowledge him not to be hitting her anymore. Because he was physically doing it. The transgender was physically hitting him. And I was like, don't touch her. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? Like, they can't think for themselves. Like, this person just can't think for themselves. Like, they don't, and I'd seen her being hit with a belt a couple of times. And you don't even know about those stories either. And I'd heard her cry a couple of times. And it's ghetto Mexican. This is ghetto Mexican life. I had seen her get hit with a belt a couple of times when they were trying to straighten her out. But this girl was, I didn't understand because it used to bother me because like I had seen her get hit with the belt a couple of times. Not a whole bunch, but like a couple slaps. You gotta understand, this girl cannot talk, cannot walk, in diapers, and shows very little reaction to anything else that's going on. And the only reason that they would, I remember, I think, spanked her or like just picked her up and, I don't know if it was because if she was putting something in her mouth she wasn't supposed to, but this girl's like already 10 years old, 11 years old by this time. And I remember cringing because it was someone that was so innocent. Like they can't acknowledge other than when you put pain on it and they kind of make a small cry, like a kind of it's a very confusing kind of cry. But that's pretty difficult for me to kind of take an observation and think that I was like, wow, That's the only time, and I stood out right in front of the porch by myself, and it doesn't matter, I don't know what God thinks of it, but I just know that all glory goes to Sarah and Ken and Kenneth, and the president did it, and his psychology and his white supremacists did it. They know how to shoot the gun, they know how to put that piercing bullet in that firearm, and know how to shoot the motherfucking pig. But you're not going to do that to a president. You're not going to do that to, a detective. You're not going to do that to a police officer. There's dead bodies all the time, people being mutilated. Who give a fuck? It just makes it more victorious for them because of Michael Jackson and all of the celebrities. But that was my man Kenneth ripping her open with total ownership. It's it's such a dysfunctional family that I come from that I feel so vengeful to the psychologist that did all this because they did it on purpose. It was a bunch of faggots. It was a bunch of fucking faggots, and they got involved in the white supremacists that wanted to support Sarah and Ken as ownership. So it's too late now. I watched my own dead sister's body, and I don't even know if she's my sister all these years. And she was like thrown in a bag of trash and just gotten rid of. Not even fucking remember for shit. The only people that remembered her was Sarah Cooper the entire time. That's the only person that did, and Kenneth. Because all these faggots and these military people that possibly be doing the shooting the electronic devices at me and maybe playing psychologists on me, the reason they're doing this and directing it all towards Sarah and Kenneth is because they don't want me to go after the young, Kenneth and Madison, and fuck their lives up and mangle them like the worthless piece of shits they are and go after the innocent. Because even though they're not innocent because of the harm Sarah and Kenneth, because I was totally innocent. And that is why they want to direct it, because they need to find a trash can. And the truth is that Kenneth was ripping the shit out of her ass open completely the entire time, and so was David. And they were sitting all their platoons. It's like they just bit me on the ass, and moved to, but you didn't want to say that whenever. It's difficult. So just as they show me and distribute, there's a lot of dead kids out there. There's a lot of dead little girls. There's a lot of tragic stories, but none of them, very few, as tragic as Michael Jackson showing up for the rescue for Keynote and Classic Soul, and everybody else gets cancer and recovers, and then it's all about love and Jesus now. But the only thing that makes me feel comfortable about this is that I know that I'm not alone with having a child that was a part of your life, a brother, a sister, a cousin that was sick and died, a very abusive, dysfunctional, with very little care from your own family. I really don't know what else to think about that particular type of situation. Sorry, my nuts are itching, so I keep shooting these electronic devices, but it was very, it's a child protective story. It's sad. I see this, and my mother's living in a $1 million home. I'm eating out a fucking trash can with these faggots and transgenders that have done this shit to me. In the military, the president is entirely 100% responsible for ordering the lethal kills, because they know what is going to go through my mind. They know how to get away with, the secret message that people give, that I could have killed you when I wanted to. And it's a token of fear that they installed inside me, knowing that they could have had me murdered and killed. They don't have to say anything. They're going to keep their explanations of victory later. You could have probably gotten more of an honesty, probably person at that time, at least in the circumstances that I was in. I wasn't taking advantage of the situation. I wasn't trying to abuse the situation. I was even yelling at my mother one day because she was talking about they were getting a free Social Security paycheck. And I was like, why do you care? That girl should have all the money. And I said this. I said that if there was cameras, you'd be able to identify this in the house. I said, why do you care? I said, if they're getting money, let them have even more money. Look how sick that little girl is. Look at the quality of her life. And my mom didn't even know the quality of her life, because I was out there in the front porch and I could smell the nasty shit food that they had, or she was being cooked, and I could watch, see that woman cook. This transgender was not a fancy cook person. This person just got the shit done because you needed to get the shit done. But I had seen this girl get hit a couple times with a belt. I already talked about that. I thought, my mother could tell you or not that this lady hit my mother with a belt. The transgender hit my mother with a fucking belt. Well, I tell you how Kenneth's going to look cool at the radio station for all his faggots in the celebrity world. Toodle them off, give them a slap on the hand, that's why they wanted to come and kill me and after me. That was why. Transgenders and gays have so much power and so much control, and they know how to intertwine the prejudice, racism that's involved in this situation. But the number one key role is the fact that I don't know what's going on. Fact is I don't know what's going on, so I've become nothing but, in a pit of snakes. That's all that is. But, as far as that goes, it's not that I'm being careless. Is that I'm not allowed to really show very much emotion, and it's been so many years. But it's my own sister I'm watching dead, nearly, which looked like to be dead limping. But you're going to get a Madison story, and you're going to say it's never her fault, and you're going to say fuck you, it was for President Barack Obama for the niggas and Medal of Honor bullshit, for Kenneth Cooper, yeah, I know, for a dead body, for, America, political power. They're just throwing her body in a fucking furnace for fuel. That's what they did. I was saying, let her have. I feel bad about that. I would feel bad walking into the kitchen and getting. It wasn't a big argument. It was just like, why do you care, Mom? Why do you care if they have money? Let them have even more money. Let them have as much as money as they need. Look at the quality of their life. The little girl can't stand up. Why are you worried about how much money they're getting? Oh, did I know that was my sister and my mother's daughters? You're going to get a deputy store and get away with it. And I said this, I was so fucked up. Nobody remembered who the fuck this little girl was other than Ivan. My mother is not in any mental state to remember shit. In no mental capacity can she. She was horrifically allowing this shit to happen to Frankie and me, and I know my mother, she's not in any mental capacity to deal with this shit. Whatever the psychologists are going to do, they think it's because I want power and to do the takeover. It's already been lost. It's not going to change the fact that they're just doing this for the president. That's why. That they want the white supremacists, they want the niggas to get away with it. They've done the harm, they clean up for the niggas again. It's not going to change any of the circumstances. She's dead. She's gone. She's not here anymore. She's wherever she is, I don't know. She's with God. It's best to say that she's with Jesus and God now. So then that way you can gravitate it toward political power and Jesus cross with that little girl. She looks like Jesus. I can see Jesus in her. Her face is leaning over like Jesus, and you clean off. You see how deputy works? For Gary Gwynn, Mike Stanish, Michael Moody, and all these pigs that were showing up. Oh, okay, who else? Who got a free paycheck? Oh, classic soul, and then fuck you too. So I really don't know what circumstances to say that she's with Jesus now, she's with God now. Because any Mexican culture of any universe and all these other things, I'm not supposed to say. They beat the fuck out of me. But she's not here with us anymore. And she died a long time ago. She was not remembered. We were not allowed to cherish a tombstone. We didn't have a picture in our house. This was about Keynote. This was about Michael Jackson. As you can see, they're making me pass gas and force it out of my intestines. But, Ivan was walking with her as I'm sure she was shitting herself and could smell. I never saw feces come out of her, but she had shitted herself. I mean, it was a frequent thing that she was very likely to have shitted herself. And, because I had seen pee ring down her several times. I'd walk by Ivan going to a friend's house or on my bike, and I'd look at the little girl, and she had pee all the way down her leg. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd watch vomit noodles, macaroni-looking noodles on the floor, and pieces of beef. Let me tell you, deputy, a world-renowned American hero, the white supremacist. It's horrific. It's very disturbing. I'm watching a completely dead body. I really don't. I didn't remember her. There was no reason for Kenneth Milk situation. I got threatened by Michelle. I know Michelle Obama. No, Michelle Ken Cooper's daughter, or stepdaughter, or whatever the fuck she is. Whatever they call it. Donate your seeds and make it look like you're straight, and then have somebody give birth to some other kid of yours. Fertility person. Anyway, I saw Michelle Cooper, and she threatened me with the police whenever I first walked in that house right after my father's funeral. And she made that threat. And the police officer, that blonde-haired motherfucker, was there. So, they were already threatening me right then and there. So, you want to throw that pig into the picture, out of the picture? I don't think so. There was no polite when I saw that cop there. There was no polite conversation. There was nothing kind. There was no eye contact, friend. He was strictly there as like behaving and acting. He was in uniform. And entirely watch your fucking self. We're in charge over here. We're the one that says everything. There was no polite. I didn't communicate, but she made that threat by going over to him. And she waited until I said hello to both of them. They're sitting on the couch, and she waited for me to walk by, and she goes, and was directly looking at the TV to scare me, like, you want me to go and get him at you? And this is what she was doing. They were playing this crazy psychological, this makes you good when I just wish you some material, huh? So I thought it was important for me to talk about these types of things, because she was looking at the TV. People don't even know about that. So it's hard for me to grasp how a fucking filthy of a bitch, Sarah Cooper, and Robert Palomo played in on this goddamn shit. He played in on it because he told me he was looking at Sarah when we were at the funeral, after my dad's funeral. I was 20 years old, and he was signaling to her, and so was Michael. And Robert Palomo did tell me, you gotta be careful with Sarah. She's real vengeful. She'll really get you. And they were trying to fire back and forth and blame. They were doing a chess piece. I know exactly what they were doing. So it gets me to get angry, and it builds up because she's going to be attacking me, and he's trying to saying this to me, thinking that he cares, and he really doesn't give a fuck, because their money's very fucking cheap. It's not that they care, they're after something else. The best of interest is to warp and take your mind and your emotions and shift them while you don't know what's going on. Poison you, and it's too late now. And that's how we fucking did it. And so was Michael Palomo. I think it's important for me to talk about. My head is I can't believe that my mother is having her daughter ripped apart. Like, the situation with my mother and Sarah, and what a worthless bitch. Like, it's prepared mentally with such preparation and calculation that it is evil. To prepare for a long period of time and calculate the fucking piece of shit, what this motherfucker is doing, what this worthless piece of shit, and being glorified by the celebrities and glorified by the psychologists and for all these years. And I'm watching my dead limb sister, and it's Kenneth, for the niggas 50 Cent, saying come for what it is when he's hot. I'm trying to talk to New York shit. You see, it's not working out too good for me. I don't know. It happened a long time ago. The only thing that makes me feel good about this, and I'm not trying to sound selfish, is that I know I'm not alone with people that have sick children. She's not my daughter. I'm not her dad. I carry the same name as her dad. I don't know who came up with her name. My mother must have. It was a long time ago. I don't know really what to say. It's just a long time ago, but it's wild when I think about it now that that was my dad's sister. That's why that faggot that looks like Gary Gwynn came into my apartment. And he stood by the window and goes, "Yeah, remember that?" And he's standing there because he's putting his imprints of Jesus Christ. And he stands in front of the crucifix. So it relates to who's the angel, who's the white supremacist, who's the one that took care of her, and then throw it on the Jesus cross. Because he's standing there and he acts aggressive, because Jesus is really aggressive and very forthcoming at his power. Because I don't carry anything. I was just being put in my place by him. And he's doing that. So you can see how they already know, and they're relating the dead little corpse of a girl and then Jesus Christ right there. And that's what they're doing. It's very toxic, the things that they're doing. Very evil. President Barack Obama and George Bush are ordering it. I can't believe that. That was my... Michaela, you're going to want to probably watch this video. I don't know what to say.